Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So glad you could join us. Today we're taking out the Texas again. Absolutely love this ship if you haven't been able to tell yet from the multiple videos on my channel. So let's hop right into it. We're in a Tier 7 game in a Tier 5 premium battleship. Under normal circumstances that would be kind of bad news, but not for the Texas, especially when you just have a bunch of people who don't understand angling. And in particular, there's a Nagato, Mr. Shangri-La 1, because Shangri-La was taken apparently. Uh, Talks a little bit of trash at the beginning here, and you'll see it pop up right after the game kind of starts. And I had a lot of fun killing him. And then it just kind of steamrolled into something a little special. So yeah, he's feeding Nagato cookies because he's looking at this and he's like, haha, I'm the only tier 7 battleship. I'm going to roll face. Well, I got news for you, buddy. I just finished doing my very, very long, painful grind on the Nagato, and it's really not that good of a ship. It really isn't. The armor is okay. The guns are inaccurate as all hell. Uh, yeah, it's just really not that particularly good. Believe me, I grinded on it for a couple weeks and really was trying to get a replay that I could put up on the channel and show everyone. And yeah, I couldn't find and get a single game that was worth putting on the YouTube channel. Whereas it seems every game that I play on the Texas, I want to put it on the channel. And I'm not trying to burn anyone out on the Texas, but damn, this is a good ship. I hope everyone that was interested in it picked it up. So, in this game, let's talk about Citadels again. So Citadels are, for lack of a better term, the weak spot on any ship. Generally speaking, they tend to be the engine room and the magazines for the guns. So that being said, where you want to aim for Citadels is directly underneath the guns, and on a battleship that's pretty easy to spot, and directly underneath the smokestacks. Now this isn't 100% rule, but as a general catch-all, if you haven't done a lot of research online and whatnot, it's a good just generic rule. If you don't know better, aim for those spots. If you're just hitting Citadels willy-nilly and you don't realize why you're doing it, that's why you're doing it, is your shells happen to be hitting either directly underneath the guns or in the engine room underneath the smokestack. So those are where you normally want to hit. They also tend to be pretty low on the ship. Generally speaking, especially versus battleships, you want to aim right where the water meets the hull of the ship. Now on a lot of ships, and you can see it on my Texas right now, there's a red water line. That's where you kind of want to aim. If you can get a shell underneath, and this poor New York just beached himself, so I'm going to take advantage of that. You know, you see that red line right there on the edge of my ship? That's where the water line is. If you can land a shell right underneath, if you can hit where that red is, you will puncture through a little bit weaker armor and hopefully get a Citadel if you're aiming at the right spots. The other way to get a Citadel is from plunging fire, and by that's normally very long range fire, and the shell goes very high and then it drops down onto the ship, not from an angle like from the side. It drops straight down, or close to straight down. Now a lot of these, especially early tier ships, do not have a lot of armor on their decks, and so where you can get a ship that normally you could never puncture through them from the side, you might actually be able to puncture them from above. This is also one of the reasons why cruisers are so flimsy in some situations, is cruisers are fairly small, and until later later tiers, they don't really have much in the way of deck armor. Well, if you hit them with a big enough shell, say a battleship, you will just plunge right through their little wooden or thin steel decks and right into their engine and magazines. So this New York has finally unstuck himself from the island. that was very unfortunate for him. And he's almost dead. And I'm trying my best to help finish him off. I'm paying very close attention to the map. I'm seeing several battleships. Mostly, for that matter, their entire team is kind of pushing. And hey, there's my buddy, Shangri-La. The one that was like, hey, feed me cookies. Now, as much as I want to put him in his place and all, he is the tier 7 battleship, and he is a threat. And he's giving me full broadside. I mean, full broadside. It really doesn't get any better of a shot than this. So I'm aiming, and I'm trying to keep my reticule ahead of him, but right where the water and the ship meet. And that's what you get, is 3 Citadels against a ship that was 2 tiers higher than me. And I put in the chat, there's your cookies. That was just a textbook shot. Like, it doesn't get any easier than that. And this is why you will hear me talk over and over in my battleship videos in particular, well, for that matter, just about any ship, of not showing your broadside. It gives you the thinnest armor. When you're angled, your armor may only be, we'll say, just for the sake of the conversation, 50 millimeters thick. When you're angled and the shell comes in and hits at an angle, it's not trying to puncture through 50 millimeters. It's now trying to get through, say, 80 millimeters, because the angle means that it has more metal or more armor to puncture through. If you're shooting it like this Nagato, who, despite that 3 Citadels, is still just sailing broadside. Like, he's not even attempting to angle himself. If you're just going to keep doing that, well, then that gives me a very easy shot. And you also notice that at 15 kilometers like this, my shells are dropping down onto him. So I don't even necessarily need to puncture through his side. He's far enough away, and my guns are high enough that I'm puncturing through his deck armor at this point. So he's trying to get behind this island for cover, and really it's just not going to help him, because again, at range, you see they get the high point and then they just drop down over the island and directly down on top of him. And I almost finished him off. He has 861 hit points left. And my teammate got him. And fine, sure, he's dead. I kind of got my point across. So what do we got left here? We got a Mahan up ahead. Not too worried about him. If he's upgraded, he has torpedo range of 9.2, and he's something like 13 kilometers away. This Congo's giving me full broadside, so we'll take a nice shot at him. And he... oh man, that was close. I just let him a little bit too much, or maybe he slowed down a hair. Congos are very fast battleships, so I probably just overestimated how fast he was actually going. But I mean, I haven't even taken a single point of damage yet, so that's okay. I did 3,000 or so damage. Okay, so now he's angling. I can see that. Not interested. That Furataka is giving me broadside, but I'm not sure if my shells can get over this island. And as much as I would love to help our Mahan out, I just don't have the shot. Looks like I might have a shot on that Texas, though. So yeah, we're just gonna have to shoot at him. Well, it looks like the Mahan and the Furataka killed themselves, so I guess that's fair. And there was a nice little shot on the Texas. I didn't have to puncture through his side. I'm doing plunging fire, so while I didn't hit a Citadel, you could hear the sound effect. It's puncturing through the armor because I'm going through his soft, squishy deck armor. I mean, these battleships at Tier 5 are pre-World War II. I mean, they really did not have a lot of armor in their decks. It looks like he's slowing down. I think I actually should have let him a lot less than that. Keep zooming out and looking around. Okay, so Mahan's right around this corner, and so is the enemy Congo. So I need to turn away from them and angle my armor so they're not firing at the flat of my ship. You see how I'm turning away here? And I'm just pointing my guns back behind me. So here comes the incoming fire from the Congo. Let's see how much hit points I take. Alright, he got one Citadel for 11,000. Not too shabby. Let's see what I can do to him. Yeah, 28,000 and another 7,000. He's dead. I just one-shotted him. Did you notice what angle he had on me? He was flat. Just absolutely 100% flat. No angling whatsoever. And the Congo, as nice of a ship as it is not specifically known for its high armor value. I just punctured right through and got another 2 Citadels on him, and then some other penetrating shots to just kind of finish him off. Pick off an easy Mahan kill there. Ideally you use HE against destroyers. The reason being is your shells are so big and so powerful they will puncture through the ship and go out the other side. And so they don't really do a whole lot of damage per se. As to the best of my knowledge, and I've never seen it actually happen, destroyers do not have citadels. However, their weak spot is their engine, their guns, and whatnot, and they basically have no armor. And so if you use armor-piercing shells, you're just going to puncture through. The game calls it overpenning. So an HE shell will hit the surface of the ship and then explode. There's a little-known factoid about that, is that they still will puncture a little bit. That's how you get detonating strikes, or detonations. That's where a high explosive shell punctures through the armor and then explodes inside the magazine, where the ammo is stored on a ship, normally right underneath any of the gun turrets. Because a destroyer is so small and its turrets are so clustered together, it's fairly easy to detonate them, relatively speaking. Whereas a battleship, while it is possible to detonate them, is fairly rare just because they have so much armor that your HE shells almost never actually puncture through the armor. I have seen it happen though. Very rare.
Concentrate fire on the designated target.
So this enemy Texas is in a world of hurt. He doesn't have any friends anymore, and if you look at the minimap, we have multiple battleships that have angles on him, so there's really no good direction for him to point himself to not get citadeled. Now he tries his best right here to basically point himself at the island and make this warspite that's right there in front of me overshoot him. But because of the island, he has to now turn out. So I'm just going to lob right into his side and easily citadel and kill him. On that one, I specifically aimed for his front gun magazines. You can see on my ship, because he was using the same one, there are 2 guns in the front. The front armor there is a little bit thinner on most battleships than, say, in the dead center of the ship. So if you can puncture through that, you'll at least get penetrating damage. You might hit the magazine and get a citadel. This game's just about over. So I hope you guys really paid attention to, what is and is not a citadel. Cruisers, when you're shooting at cruisers, it's very hard to tell because they have guns all throughout their ship, and they have such thin armor that really it's just a matter of luck almost. If you fire enough bullets at it, potentially something is going to hit a citadel, because there's multiple citadels on there. Here I'm just kind of shooting out a little shotgun blast at this Königsberg way out, and you can see that very first hit. It was only the one hit, and you could see exactly where it hit, right on the front guns, and got a citadel. I wasn't specifically aiming at that, but I just threw enough shells downrange, and they're so lightly armored that everything is going to puncture. Battleships is a little bit trickier. You got to wait for that flat angle. Now, if they're not showing you a flat angle, you can shoot the superstructure, which is the towers above the water line, and get a little bit of puncturing damage. You can shoot at the front of the ship, you can shoot at the back of the ship where the armor's a little bit lighter, and get just some puncturing damage. But I hope you learned something. Hope you had a fun time. See y'all next time, folks.